What do you do when you have squatters in your home?
You call the squatter squad, of course.
Of course you do.
You're listening to Home Sellers Advantage. I'm your host, Aaron Zapata.
And I'm your other host, Todd Anderson. We are the Bald Brothers team at Impact Realty Group with Real Broker, and we are here to give you the Home Sellers Advantage.
You can find us online at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv.
Or you can call us at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253.
All right, welcome to the show today, guys. We have the Squatter Squad with us, and we're super excited to have them as our guests. Not only have we had the privilege of working with them on one of our transactions and meeting them in person, but we've had a chance to follow them, watch them grow, and watch them serve dozens and dozens of people. And so, guys, we're just glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
You're welcome. You and I, with Todd, we had a situation where we actually needed your services. And
and in fact, we should probably say how we first got in contact with you. Aaron had actually followed you ever since he saw you on television, right? They were interviewed on a news story. Yeah.
And then I thought, I should follow these guys. I might need their services. And then sure enough, reached out to them, and they were quick to respond, which is always great in the real estate world, especially when you're dealing with squatters. And so we ended up working together on a transaction where somebody hadn't moved out as they were supposed to. But we're going to save some of the details of that till the end of our show, because I wanted you guys to get to know the Squatter Squad. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how your company and how you guys met and all that kind of stuff. How did you start doing this? It's so unique to our current market. And tell us about the origin story for the Squatter Squad.
Yeah, great question, because it does have an interesting origin. Years ago, I started a business that solely removed unwanted RVs. That could be motorhomes, travel trailers, fifth wheels. And I would say around 2017, I just kept running into situations where either there were, I call them RV squatters, that come onto properties and vacant land and don't want to leave, or a client can have an RV in their back property, side yard, or what have you. They go on vacation, they come back and find out that squatters moved into their RV. So through my RV removal business, I kept running into squatters, and what I noticed was most of our clients didn't know what to do. They would call the cops wouldn't help, or call the sheriffs, etc. So I just took it upon myself to figure out how to get the squatters out so that I could finish my work, which was removing the unwanted RV. So I would say it when I finally decided to start, brand Squatter Squad as an actual sole business, it was early in 2023 when I had a squatting situation in Escondido, and someone on the board of the homeowners association called me out to remove a burned motorhome. And when I arrived, there was a bunch of squatters on the property. It was kind of a remote area within their homeowners, within all the homes, and kind of a nature area. And all these people were there, with their tents, and you know how it looks when people are squatting out in the boonies. So a lot of tents, a lot of just drug addicts. And I was with the president of the homeowners association, and she's simply showing me the burned RV. And I look at these guys and I said, "Hey, what are you doing here? You need to leave. This is private property." And this woman looked at me like, I thought I maybe made her mad at first. And she looked at me and she kind of became emboldened and said, "Yeah, you guys need to get out of here. I'm calling the sheriff." And da-da. And she said to me later on, she said, "Wow, I didn't expect for you to say that. And I didn't expect for them to listen to you and start packing their bags and leaving." So when that happened, like I said, early 2023, I thought, you know what? I want to make this its own business, because time after time, several times a year, I see these poor, property owners or what have you that just don't know what to do. And so I just had a hunch it would be a good business concept. And the minute we opened our doors, that, like, the rest is history, really.
Yeah. Been a floodgate.
Yeah, it really has been. And then as far as Kimrey and I, we've known each other for many, many years, over 20 years. And with his background, with his expertise and his knowledge and in, let's say, real estate and law, and just things I knew about him, I called him up and I said, Kimrey, you know what? I need some help here. I said, we've got this squatter situation. I know how to get him out, but there's a legal aspect that I want to make sure, you know, no stone is left unturned, or, you know, there's just different reasons that have to do with more of the legalities of things and finding some loopholes that I thought he would be helpful with. And when I explained everything to him, he was like, hey, you know, I'm on board. So we've been working together ever since, and that would have been earlier this year.
Well, that's great. And that's what you said there, super important, is that there's the physical, tangible method, and then there's the legal side of it to make sure that what you just did actually sticks.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
right.
We do know that squatters oftentimes leave and then come back. And so keeping them away is ultimately what is necessary, especially in our line of work where we are usually selling a property. You can't afford to have that person come back again and again and again.
Right.
We're
right.
showing, yeah.
And it's not only that, but it's making sure we don't get arrested. We push the envelope. We've got to be aggressive sometimes and get them out, but we don't, number one, want to get arrested. And just as important, we don't want our clients to get sued. So you've got to know what you can get away with on certain jobs. Not all jobs require us and our field agents to go kick down doors or what have you. But if we've got to take certain tactics, we got to make sure we're not crossing the line over, even though they're squatters, LA might call them tenants. So there's not just, like I said, like you're mentioning, preventing them from coming back, but we want to make sure that we're doing things right. No one's getting into trouble. And once we get them out, yes, you guys, it's so important that we take measures to keep them out, because we get calls from people that said, well, I spent 10 months in eviction court, got the squatters out, and they're back at midnight. And it's too late. It's almost too late now. They've gotten back in, and the cops honestly get tired of, hey, I've been out here already. They've been, you know, you didn't board up the place properly. You didn't put up surveillance. So yeah, there's this whole realm here that we're, you know, really people need to watch our social media to see how to prevent it, or if it does happen, how to make sure, you know, it never happens again. So very important points there.
Yeah, you said something that's very interesting. I think is important for our viewers to understand is there's a legal aspect of it, and and particularly also to the state of California. So in California, where we are, it would be different than in other states. So can you explain a little bit more what some of those considerations that you have here?
Yeah,
in the state of California?
Go ahead, Kimrey, and I'd also like for him to mention the difference even between LA and San Bernardino. It can change not only state by state, but county by county. But I'll let Kimrey talk about that.
Well, yeah, great question. A lot of big answers to that. But Lando and I have focused on this, helping our bankers, investors, mom and pop owners of Airbnbs to just, hey, this is our first investment home, and these unlawful, because we go from unlawful occupants, meaning trespassers, and Airbnb holdovers, and then quote squatters. That's kind of, I call those the category 2 and 3. Category 1 is tenant, landlord, got a lease and all that. We don't usually get into that at all, because that's an old system that we just can't break into that very much. But what Lando and I came up with is kind of catchphrases like our private property protection package. And what that is we speak about that a lot, so we're not giving out, quote, all our proprietary stuff, but it's important, Aaron and Todd, what you're talking about is protecting initially to keep them out of your property, and that would be with the no trespassing signs, going to their local law enforcement, getting their notice of trespass, which you knew, Aaron, you were right on it. You and or Todd were on that, and you got your notice of agency trespass arrest authorization filled out, good for 1 year, and then getting eyes on the property. And I got to say, we'll talk about that situation we were all in together. but Aaron and Todd jumped right on it. They got eyes on the particular property. So now we could, well, at that time we couldn't get too close, but once he left, boy, it was right there, cameras everywhere. So why is that advantageous to your clients and to the people out there is because we're understanding that the response, even in the law enforcement that doesn't like to even do trespass removals, will respond at a much higher percentage if you have those things in place. No trespassing, which we can give you some shots of the type that you should buy on Amazon that are better than others. Your notice of agency, trespass arrest authorization, and eyes on the property. This will also help when they get evicted. And don't forget on your eviction, because attorneys are forgetting this, to make sure if they're asking for John Smith, don't forget to say, and all John Does 1 through 100, because we've had that happen. The sheriffs could remove John Smith, and the other guys go, well, that's not us. That's not our name.
Yeah.
And it happens.
And
So
let's say also real quick, when Kimrey says when, it's really if an eviction is needed. We'd like to think the work we do is helping our clients avoid the eviction, but there's times where it can be a gamble, but it's worth rolling the dice to see if we can get them out on trespassing. But sometimes we can't, and our hands get tied in it, and they do have to be evicted, but at least we've set them up for a much better effort in that realm. But go ahead, Kimrey.
yeah, so in this very, very pregnant question, guys, we start off with that, and that helps before, like Lando said, preservation before it even is to happen. But when it goes to eviction, and we've had several of our clients that happen to, they're so worried about what do I do after they leave. And also our law enforcement, they're kind of done, a lot of them, with our private property owners because they aren't engaging in helping, like getting their no trespassing signs, getting these things on file, getting their cameras up, and certainly boarding up or fixing windows and doors that need to be. So I would highly encourage to remind your listeners that we want our properties right. It's not up to law enforcement to keep that protection and all that stuff on the property. That's the private property owners' place to be. So I want to always say that, and to give our law enforcement a little bit of break there. When Lando was talking about,
let me just insert.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Let me just insert right here. It's not law enforcement's job to enforce civil disputes, right?
Correct.
Unless it becomes a legal issue, and there's a difference between a civil, which is between two personal parties, and a criminal or legal, right? Where it becomes an actual crime. They'll stop a crime, right? But they're not going to stop a civil dispute that will be handled in the courts. And whether or not someone belongs in the property or not is a civil dispute. I have a contract. No, you don't. Yes, I do. Okay, you guys go figure that out in the court. And then the cops don't want to do anything in that stage. And so, but if you go the next phase, like you talked about with some of those paperwork filings, it actually can become a criminal issue where the cops can reply. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And that's what Lando was talking about, because why hire Squatter Squad is because we're experts in understanding that proprietary paperwork that when you come to be our client, you become a part of.
Yeah.
And we know that it is legal. It is not, excuse me, I'm going to rephrase that, lawful. Legal is a big, broad term, but it is absolutely lawful paperwork that law enforcement, such as sheriffs, and some LAPD and other private, not private, but public, like Santa Ana Police Department, that type of thing, they recognize the paperwork. And others, no matter what, they're told, nope, the DA does not want to deal with this. It is a civil matter, no matter. Absolutely, it is what they call a penal code, or PC 602 trespass. And it is absolutely a felony criminal charge that our officers are told. Lando, what's our famous words? Our hands are tied.
Yeah.
That we're told to stand down. And please, Squatter Squad, and very respectfully, they say to us, thank you for what you're doing, but you need to go higher. And so with those 3 points of several interviews with several law enforcement officers who spend the time with them, God bless them that they do, and I know they're busy, but we go over to San Bernardino as an example. Riverside's pretty good too. They responded to our paperwork, invited us in with the property owner at a conference table. Heck, probably wanted to offer us cappuccinos, whatever. I just thought it was amazing. The next thing he knows is the watch commander, who's the supervisor at that shift, calls their city attorney just to make sure this is what these people have, blah, 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 blah. Are you seeing the same thing? Yep. It looks like a 602 trespass and what they call burglary, which a lot of people think that's just breaking in, stealing something. But what it means is that you broke in without authorization with the intent to damage. And damage could be breaking windows, not paying anything, creating fake documents. It's all a part of the word damage. And not only did he say, well, we going together, he wanted to cut the lock off the bolts, not letting me or Lando do it. He wanted to do it. And this could have very well been, in our experience, most will say, with the lady that was in there. She was just supposed to be cleaning the place and then leaving. They brought in a bunch of young people that were growing mushrooms. They've converted the whole place. And that sheriff was lawfully, by our highest laws, doing his job. And we asked him, why is this so different? He goes, well, I don't do anything over that hill because it's not the same world. It's not the same law. And so Lando and I kind of, always remember that as we continue in this constant barrage of private property owners are becoming less and less of a priority to our elected officials. And turning our properties into community properties seems to be more of their focus. And so Lando and I are finding ourselves really having to think out of the box, guys. Orange County probably will have better, but we could name our counties where we are having success. And even in Los Angeles County and the city of Los Angeles, we are having officers that are stepping up to the plate and saying, one guy threatened, he goes, fine, I'll go do this on my own. And I'm calling Squatter Squad in. And all of a sudden the guy goes, now, wait a minute. So the officer gathered 3 other guys. They went over to the property and got out the 20 young BMW driving Mercedes 20-year-olds that were just partying in this guy's house, destroying it. They got him out. They all were out that afternoon.
Wow.
Yeah, and let me say something.
Yeah, go ahead, Lando.
They hired us. We consulted over the phone, did all the proper paperwork, and this gentleman, Kimrey coached him. He went and talked to the watch commander and the police, whoever. But he did hire us, and we did do the paperwork part and the coaching. But that we urge people, if they have squatters, not to call the police yet until they talk to us, even if it's some quick advice over the phone, because we don't want the property owner to muddy the waters with the cops. We want them to go at them with the right paperwork and the right how do you say it? How there's a certain way to address cops, and you got to have that lingo down. And this guy got him out simply because we coached him on what to say, and he had the right paperwork. If you call the cops without the right proof of ownership, this, that, and the other, the cops just call it a civil matter right away. What we want to do is stop that, because the minute they put in their logbooks that this is a civil matter, when they call us out, like I said, it can muddy the waters. It doesn't mean we can't be effective in the future, but our chances are better if we get them to, off to a good start from the minute they notice the squatters.
Yeah, so it sounds like what you're saying is from day one, communication, proper lines of communication, proper, not just lines, but methods of communication. It all has to be done in a certain way to make it seamless from the very beginning.
It does, or it can help a lot. And even with the story Kimrey's telling you all here, the cop was hesitant. He had all the paperwork he needed, but the minute he brought up, okay, I'm gonna have to pay Squatter Squad to do your job, the cop knew. I hate to say it, you guys, but sometimes cops can get lazy. They don't want to do all this paperwork because the judge, lets them out, lets the criminal out the next day. But just know that some of your viewers, if this happens, they've got this one shot, and it's got to be done right the first time. And that's what I'm urging here, is that even though it seems like your best instincts to call the cops when you see a squatter, if you don't have certain things in place, that they love to use that term, it's a civil matter, and it's not. They've broken, they entered, they're criminals, but they're shoved right into the civil matter, and that is not a good thing to start with.
Yeah, Aaron and I can speak from experience prior to us calling the squatter squad, because we've dealt with this on several occasions, and we're so thankful for your help in this most recent one. But we went down that trail with the previous one, where we were told exactly that it was a civil. That was our first thing, as we were told it was a civil matter, and it took a long time. We stumbled through it. We managed to get through it, but it took a long time. And a lot of what you're saying is exactly what we experienced on previous homes.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this: when that officer knows that you know your rights and you know trespassing laws, and you've got certain things filed, and you got a piece of paper, you want to take away any, as Kimrey says a lot, he said, she said. You got to remove that, and you don't want any way for that cop to come up with an excuse. So I think one of our best things with our clients is removing a lot of excuses cops will try to use. Nope. Now you got to do your job. So that's what our goal always is.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people listening or have gone through this, there's a lot of shame and like fear, because I know a lot of older people that have let people rent rooms and they take advantage of them. Unfortunately, some of those people don't come forward because they are just ashamed, and they're afraid of causing any waves. What kind of advice do you have to somebody who perhaps has a house that's in that situation where they just are afraid to get somebody out? There's a bad roommate. There's a guy that hasn't been paying forever but lives there. What kind of situation or advice would you give someone that is facing that situation?
Yeah, we'll speak up again. I don't want to do all the talking, but I'm the person that takes the initial call, and I will tell you all, I was speaking with a woman in her 80s that's the daughter of, let's just say, one of the biggest burger franchises in the United States. She lives in the original home in Anaheim of this famous couple that started this franchise. So she was being nice and let someone live in the back apartment. Someone she knows says, "Oh, this guy is great. He's going to help you around the property." Da da da. Well, we can kind of guess here why she's calling us and what happened. I can tell you all that we get several calls a week of our seniors being taken advantage of. They can be a lot of times they're in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden their neighbors are calling them saying, "Hey, there's vehicles in your driveway we do not recognize, and they're having yard sales with your items," and all this sort of thing.
What?
And
Wow.
yeah, it's so bad, you guys. And I'm sure we're all on the same page that we love and respect our seniors, and they need to be protected. And I had two situations in 1 week where these classic vehicles were just disappeared out of their driveway. It's really sad. So seniors are preyed upon. And so what I'd like to say to your listeners here is that if you have a senior, parent or relative out of your area or out of state, that you check on them or put up a Ring camera in their driveway, and you can watch things for them, because it's kind of an epidemic. And I can tell you that you're right, Aaron, what you said about them being embarrassed. This woman I'm talking to now, this woman in her 80s, that's this daughter of this person, she feels ashamed, embarrassed. Now she feels like she's reaching out for help. But it is embarrassing, because they feel like, looking back, hindsight's always 2020, and the sense I get from them is, how could I be so dumb? But they're just being trusting like you'd want to be. But again, they didn't realize this would even happen to them.
Yeah. I agree with with Lando, because I know, I mean, I absolutely have a heart for seniors, but it's something, his mantra, I would say he really loves protecting seniors. So what we're doing is we're pushing the envelope because you asked about other states. Lawful things, not legal because of ordinances, make something a little bit legal, but not as legal as a code and a statute. That's lawful law. We're looking at things like you should be able to write a specific type of paperwork, has the property owner or the property owner's authorized agent, and say to that guest, I revoke you being on the property. And then go to your local law enforcement, and that should be it. You show that you are the owner, or you have the right authorization to make that request with another sets of paperwork, not too much, and that should be it. Because that's how other states and even some cities and counties within Los Angeles operate that way, because that is the lawful way. When you own a property, you have the right to exclude by the Constitution of the United States and by our state constitution and by statutes that have been on the books since the mid 1800s. And so they didn't go away. It's just people have forgotten that our state is mostly about tenant rights, and they forget about the private property owner rights. So we are pushing that envelope, and it's shows like this that help us get out to understand that lawful procedures would be just to say, I revoke my consent, because there is no written contract. There was a verbal, yes, you may stay here but now I don't want you here, and I revoke that consent. And it should be as easy as that. Mm-hmm. So that's one of our goals, Lando and I and the team, we talk about eventually. We hope that we will be back in that type of society. Lando and I will preface, because I just spoke, we spoke at a neighborhood watch, 29th place neighborhood club. It's a cool little thing, long story, but quite a few people showed up. They meet about every 2 months, and they talk about things like getting the city to do speed bumps. And we were in a situation where Lando, for the first time, we almost both got shot, maybe even killed that day, to the house next door to where the event was on the October 5th. And it was amazing, the questions. But I had a guy, and I loved his questions. And it was, well, what gives you the authority as squatter squad? You're not attorneys, you're not licensed, blah, 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 blah. But it was very good questions. And basically what I responded to him is that we do give preventative, which is the first thing. Why let it happen in the first place? And your best chances is just be prepared. Then if you get stuck in that situation, Lando, I can think about a few of our clients, and for instance, Joan in Palm Springs, she felt so shameful. And what happened is she found a guy on Craigslist. She wanted a temporary, rent something. And she wrote a handwritten thing online. He signed it. She said, okay, well, when are you going to send the deposit? And he sent some fake paperwork. But a long short, it had to do with the law enforcement, the mayor and the DA of that town. They were amazing. They stepped in and said to us, you can have Miss Joan go do these things. So I had her do those. We helped her. And long short, she had to do an eviction, but he also got criminal charges against him. So he didn't walk away scot-free, and his friends. And the next thing is that it was expedited because of the circumstances. Their laws on the book allow for not even what we call an ex parte eviction, but one that looks at the paperwork that we had, that under oath we could go to jail if we were perjurous, and so could our clients. So the judge and the DA takes that paperwork very serious. It's notarized. And sometimes we do other ways that are a higher oath type of background. So our paperwork's very strong in front of a lawful law enforcement that wants to do their job.
Yeah.
So, yeah, guys, it just depends, to be honest. It depends where and what city and county. But even then, you can have law enforcement that will still stand down from a true trespass because of a plethora of reasons. So.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, you're not attorneys. You're not coming out there from a legal standpoint, but a preventive and an assistance standpoint. Like we all have rights as property owners to file our own paperwork to protect our own property, and you are just coming alongside and helping us know what to do
Yeah.
in the process of evicting somebody who's there unlawfully. So I like that.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
a lot of our listeners and viewers find themselves in that similar situation where you've got this problem and you just don't know where to begin. What do you do? And
Yeah.
so I would imagine that that's the bulk of the people who call you are in that category. They saw you online or on the news or wherever, and they just don't know where to begin. So I would imagine, would you speak to that? Is that typically most
Yeah.
of your clientele when they come to you? Is that the category that they find themselves in?
Yeah, I would like to say something here. I've noticed with our calls, they've usually spoken with the police. The police won't help. They say you need to get this, attorney that's going to cost 5 to 10 grand and take 10 to 12 months to get him out. So you've got an attorney here, you've got the cops. We're right in the middle. So how many times have me and Kimrey talked to someone where the cop totally made them feel worse than when they called the police, gave them no hope. The attorney made them feel worse. They call us and they're like, oh my God, I literally just talking to you guys, I feel like there's actually some hope here. So there's this gap in the middle that we feel that they can't get anywhere else. And as crazy as it sounds, even when I tell a potential client over the phone that, you know what, I hate to say this, but this is truly a civil matter. You're going to have to take them to court, but I'm giving them pointers that I know the attorney, I'm not giving them advice. I'm just saying you can get them on this, this, and this. And you know, when you might want to knock on the door, talk to that person in there and say that you're going to have an eviction on your credit. I'm going to get you for these charges, and these charges. And I'm going to give you I'm not saying in every case, but $1,000 to get the hell out of here by tomorrow, or I will do an eviction and you'll get all of this on your record and nothing. There's things we can do to give them ideas that they would have not thought about. And that kind of emboldens them that they just don't feel like they're the victim. So I would say just people calling us, we can give them some sort of help, but our goal is with the, there's a certain type of property owner we can help and not help, but we want that call to at least go to benefit them somehow, because like you said, they don't know where to start. And sometimes you can call 5 law offices and you're just a number to them. When they call us, we at least give them, something to work with. So anyhow, I don't know if I perfectly answer your question, but our goal is when they call us to greatly reduce their stress level and to think clearly and to take action.
Yeah. In fact, we've been doing a great job. I'm so happy he's worked with a business coach and people in his life. That's what makes him above the mark in customer service in a lot of ways. And so the thing is I'm not giving it advice like law. In fact, a lot of these guys sometimes will be simultaneously doing an eviction, but we're giving them things that are totally lawful to do at the same time that could actually result in the eviction or the person leaving.
Yeah.
And then they just dismiss their case. So that happens too. But things like is the trespass notice of agency trespass arrest authorization. Why can't we tell the people how to do that? Attorneys aren't going to tell them. And
Yeah,
we've actually had officers go there when they had no luck, right, Lando? The one in Venice?
Yeah, and even officers won't tell people that. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know. Cops are just busy and they're not going to just be how we are at our, at Squatter Squad. We look at every case like it's our grandma, our sister. We're out to bat for them. I want to give you guys a quick example of, and this is on our social media. I made a video about it, I think back in, let's say, May or June. A woman from Venice Beach called and she said, listen, I had these guys break into my home that's being remodeled. I check on it every few days. I called the police. This is in the AM. Called the police. They said, oh, you know what? They said they live here and okay, it's a civil matter. And so she calls us after that. So let's say it's 10 a.m. And I said, ma'am, what you want to do is fill out the trespassers arrest authorization form, put up a couple of no trespassing signs. I want you to call the police again, and this is how you want to talk to them. So she did all these things, and she's texting me about 6 or 7 p.m. and she's like, Lando, you're not going to believe this. There were a bunch of intruders. By the time she called the second set of police, there's already more people in there. She said something like a bunch of cops showed up, dragged out all these homeless people. And imagine if she did what the first set of police said, oh, this is a civil matter. You need to evict these breaking and entering criminals. And now all of a sudden, by the end of the day, she's got all of them out, and she did it on her own by following some basic advice. Exactly what Kimrey told you. Sometimes that trespassers arrest form can be the single thing that helps get them out. And keep in mind, this is LA County. It still got pulled off in LA, not LA proper, but Venice Beach. These cops did their job. So you don't want to give up too quickly. If she just gave up at the first cop and just didn't call us, she would have still not had her house back right now.
Yeah. Now I can imagine that you guys find yourself in some precarious situations. Any crazy stories you want to share with us? Because it sounds like it's all paperwork right now, but I know it's not. It's not just a matter of proper paperwork.
Yeah.
Tell us about some things you've
And
gone
by the way,
listen,
before you answer, don't think that we didn't notice that you said you almost got shot recently.
Well, yeah, and what we talked about earlier is how we have these processes. We work with cops and do these basic things, but there's another element to Squatter Squad, and we have a team, and it's a growing team of field agents that are licensed, bonded security officers that are licensed to open carry, conceal carry, handcuff. And if the cops don't want to do their job, and we deem this situation where we can go in with our own team and get them out, we will do that. And we can talk about kind of our pricing, whether it's just the paperwork on up to what we do in the field. Obviously, if there's a home full of 10 or 20 squatters and we need to get them out with some sort of force, that could be pretty costly. So there is another realm to this, but we can only do that if we know it's lawful. We're not going to get arrested. We don't want any chance of our client to get sued, but just know that we go in, we do things. In the situation where we almost got shot, and this is a home within this community that has this kind of neighborhood watch. Kimrey mentioned they have a meeting every 2 weeks. They found us being interviewed by the news, and they said, hey, we were really the ones that got these squatters out because we told the police about it. And the newswoman said, no. Squatter Squad came in and kicked them all out. This poor people. They thought they really did a good job. But anyhow, so in that situation, we negotiated with a house full of problematic people. There was a ringleader that we negotiated with a certain way, and they were to be out by noon the following week. It took until 3 p.m. but we got all these squatters out. Some of them were, meth addicts, heroin addicts. It was difficult. We got them all out, but there were, I think, 2 or 3 people that were very unhappy with the situation, and they came back later that evening with vengeance. And we had a crossover time of Kimrey and I being there, and our big security guard guy just had left, and then the other crew to come in, and those were the property owners team. And there was a crossover period where these guys came back, and they came back with guns and this and that and the other. Long story short, we survived it. The police showed up, and I brought up to the cop. Police, it took them 2 hours to react to, hey, we're being surrounded by guys and they're trying to kill us. So wow. 2 hours later, at least 2 hours, the cop shows up and said, oh, let me talk to my boss. Sorry, guys, we can't help you. And I said, well, the squatters had guns, and they pulled a gun on us. There's cocaine in the bathroom. This is going on, that. And the cop looks at me and he said, this is LA, and walks out the door. And so that we've run into a lot of crazy stuff, you guys, but there are times when we got to go into the field, kick down the door, tell the people you're going to be arrested if you don't leave. But that's only when we either have the okay by the sheriff, or we know that we basically, we've done our research and we know we're not going to get arrested for what do you call it, when you're for false imprisonment, I guess is what, you can't just handcuff someone without proper reason. So it can get tricky when we're doing that sort of squatter removal, but we have done it. We've kicked down doors, tossed them out with a bunch of cops standing there watching us because we did it we did our homework on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
You had mentioned some trends happening. What are some recent trends right now in squatting that you've seen over the last couple of months, things that our audience should be careful for, to kind of be a heads up on this?
You want to speak about that, Kimrey?
Yeah, I'll make it a quick one. But Connor, our customer client up in Sacramento, we're doing our remote stuff with him, and he wants to do it. He just tell me how to do things, and that real gun ho. And what happened is he really prided himself, not putting him down, but he used, I believe it was Zillow and some special
Zillow.
Checking out, make sure that the people going to rent his properties were the right ones. So she checked out. She sent her deposit. There was a very nice lease done, all that. Well, what ends up is all of a sudden he's trying to get a hold of her. Now they're doing this remote off of Zoom, and I would say even the officers in the end were bagging on Connor, telling him, "What kind of people rent through Zoom? You need to see their faces and blah blah." It was a big mess for that. But what my point is that the contract, everything was legitimate except for a couple things. Number one, she has 5 alias names. She had the one where the credit showed up great, and then when the deposit got deposited, was enough for him to tell her the key code to get in. But she never showed up to the property because he had eyes on the property. He's like, "Okay, when are you going to come to the property so I can, show you stuff?" And, "Oh, yeah, I'll be there next week." She supposedly was a truck driver, had a legitimate license for one truck, one person in Antioch, California. And all of a sudden, he finally says, "I'm going to the house." So he goes over there, and he's just, "Who's in here?" He's knocking, expecting to see an African-American lady, and this 2 white teenagers answered and said, "Yeah, can we help you?" And he's like, "Hello, what are you doing in my house?" "No, my mom's renting this place." So what happened is the lady that was in there with her 2 daughters could not get rentals anywhere. But this lady said, "Look, I'll get you in somewhere with my credit and all this if you put into my account $15,000. So you wonder where in the world she gets 15,000, whatever. So Connor's talking, and he finally gets away, and all of a sudden all these police officers are coming up to his property, sheriffs and police department. He's going, "Excuse me, I'm the property owner. Please get back. Please, big bad." And then they start, "We're a warrant for, we need to come in." Bam, bam, bam. And the 2 teenagers are going, "No, nobody's else in the house." Well, the supposed mom, we don't know if that was because we run into a lot of actual human trafficking and prostitution going on. So she came out. They never said a word to her or the girls. They just went in looking for something. And then we found out that the law enforcement was ready to bust over with the DOJ of the state over 200 people on drug trafficking charges. So my point is, and Lando has many are starting to come our way, that this stuff looks so legitimate. And even some of our friends in Vegas, this happened to them with these fake AI leasing companies that look totally legit, end up being absolutely not.
Wow.
So the trends that we see are Zillow. You really can't. Your people here that are renting through Zillow cannot rely on them to do the vetting at all. There's fake. We had a Zillow thing a couple weeks ago with a stolen identity and stolen credit cards to pay for the place, and got in and locked themselves in. So there's a fake identity. There was the one Kimrey just mentioned. And someone that I started, we have a new client as of yesterday in Canoga Park that was swindled through Zillow, and one person rented it and said, "Oh, my assistant's going to come and get the keys," and that person has nothing to do. It's another switcheroo type thing where now this and the payment was rejected. The woman gave the keys only after the payment went through, gave the keys, and several hours later it was rejected for whatever reason. So the trends are problems with Zillow we're noticing, and continuous never-ending problems with Airbnb. Just know, any of you Airbnbers, if you're going to let someone on your property, make sure they've got several reviews and make sure it's not a long-term rental. Not that it's always going to matter, but just know if you rent on Airbnb and any other service like that, anyone that you let into your home these days may not leave, and you might be forced to evict them. And so beware, because we get calls every day from Airbnb. It's a big problem right now.
Yeah. Wow.
Aaron and Todd, on this, I need a quick on that Airbnb thing. Squatter Squad can help quite a bit, especially in the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles. We know the laws for the RSO, Rental Stabilization Ordinance, Just Cause, Ellis Act, everything that what happens in the determination of their Airbnb, that Airbnb does not tell them that they are running an illegal, at least under the ordinances. And so these Airbnb guys are renting for a week or two, and then they know the laws, and then they're stopping their payments, and they're going immediately into, you have to give me back all my money, which is under the ordinance, because you were illegally renting me this Airbnb. And we can help them out, because Airbnb is not doing that. And these property owners are getting stuck with these we're in the middle of one right now with that very, very scenario. So we can help out with that too.
Yeah, and keep in mind, these Airbnb squatters know certain laws, and they do things like call code enforcement and do this, and this, and sometimes they get paid money to leave because they know that with the zoning or the way the property was paying taxes, it's really, you got to be so careful with Airbnb because they're a target for multiple reasons, not just squatting, but for for basically squeezing the property owners of certain funds that otherwise they wouldn't have to. Extortion, I'll just say extortion. So just be really, really careful with your Airbnbs.
Yeah. Hey, well, guys, we're gonna start to wrap up here, but I wanted to conclude our little story that we wanted to thank you for your help on. This is a scenario where a person who was renting a room, but not really renting, it was an exchange for caretaking and things like that, and it was a good relationship for many years. And then the homeowner decided they needed to sell. And when they chose to announce the news, they got an agreement from the tenant to move out, and
it was a signed agreement.
And he did not move out he did not adhere to the agreement, and so that is when we got you guys involved. And I just want to say thank you. You've already mentioned all those paperwork things that you did with the client, going down to the police station, making sure that was all taken care of. And I just want to say shout out to you guys. You were there at 11 o'clock at night one night, because that was the agreed upon time that the guy was supposed to vacate the home, and it didn't happen. Everybody had to come back the next night. And it was like 4 nights in a row that you guys were just on site, willing and able to help. And so I just want to say thank you, because he ended up moving out, and your security team came on, and we securitized the property. We installed 7 cameras. 7 cameras on the site, and we're able to monitor it and watch
with multiple people monitoring the cameras.
Yeah,
so, Aaron, myself, you guys, the property owners, we were all had eyes on it.
We did. Yeah. So, I just want to thank you, and my clients were greatly blessed by your interaction with them and getting them through that process. So thank you guys for that.
Oh yeah, and we appreciate the work, and I'm glad everything turned out well. And it turned out the way it needed to. Even it was a tricky situation, but thank God everything went.
Yeah, it was very tricky.
And thanks to Kimrey for being a couple late nights there. I was there on day 1, but he went back the last couple times, and
Kerry and I.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Aaron, you were there too, so don't say you like you weren't. You
no,
were
it was
there.
a group effort. And when homeowners go to sell properties, and they need to know this, we get this question: well, can I sell with a tenant inside the property? And our answer is adamantly no, unless it's an investment property like a 5 unit or 25 unit apartment building where tenants are always part of the deal. Like, you're not going to sell a condo or a townhome with a tenant in there because of reasons like this.
Mhm.
The moment you sell, what if they stop paying rent? That
Yeah.
person's got to go through this process. They got to call us. They got to call the squatter squad. They got to call the attorneys. They don't want to do it. And so,
Yeah.
I have a feeling this isn't the last time we're going to get to work together, guys.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
here for you, and we're here for your viewers if they need help. And like I said earlier, every situation we treat, it's on a personal level, and we are always going to go to bat as much as we can for someone.
Yeah. Well, what is the best way for our viewers and our listeners to get a hold of you today? What should they do? Who
The
should they
best
call? Where
way-
should they go?
Yeah, the best way is just go to our website, squattersquad.co, and to make sure that they qualify as someone. We can't kick out tenants, so to speak, that have a contract, and but reviewing our website, and there's a submission form to basically fill out this form to describe the case. There's a phone number to get a hold of us, but really starting at our website's the best place.
Yeah.
Great. So we're going to put a link to that in the show notes on
Okay.
our YouTube channel, and then
And also all the other
all the other
podcast
places.
locations.
Yeah, so it'll go on all of the notes. So
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. And if you want more information about details that we didn't go into today, please comment, in the comments, just put some more details, or comment Squatter Squad, because we do watch the comments. We do respond and engage with that. And if you found this helpful, of course, we want you to also tag and share the Squatter Squad's Instagram. And what's your Instagram, guys?
Yeah, everything is just Instagram is squatter_squad, but whether it's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, just putting our name Squatter Squad, you're gonna find our account very easily.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you're sharing this content with somebody, just tag them, let them know that you appreciate what you have learned today. And with that, guys, anything else that you want to throw out there, any last words of wisdom before we close out the show today?
No, we appreciate everyone's
Yeah.
time, and we hope this helps, because part of our goal is to prevent this from happening to anyone. So hopefully some of this helped that.
Yeah. And I do like we're going into a mantra motto for us, what we offer as a business model. I love, it wasn't my idea, and I don't even think Lando's, it was our friends. And it was that we bring peace of mind. And that's so on point, because sometimes that's all it is people just need to be heard, to vent. And then, is there anything else I can do? So peace of mind is something.
Well, he forgot one word. It's peace of mind restored, because we're really restoring. We want that peace of mind and that property ownership confidence to be fully restored. So just wanted to add that, but that's important. Yeah. It's a common term, but we're restoring that, and it really is true.
Peace of mind restored.
I like that.
Yeah. And also peace of property.
Yeah.
Or
Good one, Aaron.
I did see that one where you just got rid of that RV, and the son, I think, came out and drove it off because you couldn't find the lady who was living in
Oh,
that
right. And
RV.
we've got, I think, 4 RV squatter jobs on our social media, and you can go back to see what me yelling at squatters back in 2020 with my pepper spray. It's like in Palm Springs. Yeah, I wish I recorded more of my past. I just didn't know this was all going to happen.
Who knew? Who
Yeah.
knew? Well, I appreciate you guys being a resource, and we just want to encourage everybody. Also want to say thank you to Crosswalk Mortgage, to Beacon Escrow, as well as Blue Elevator Business Consultants. We appreciate you sponsoring our show, and we thank you guys for your continued support. So again, thanks guys for being here today. God bless you. May He protect you and give you success in the journeys ahead. as you
Thank
work
you.
on serving people. So thank you guys.
Thank
Thank
Been
you, guys. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks for listening to the Home Sellers Advantage. The Bald Brothers team is a licensed DBA of Real Broker, licensed by the California Department of Real Estate, number 020222092. Again, we do not give any real estate, legal, or financial advice. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can call us at 833-305-BALD, or you can reach us online at baldbrothers.tv. Equal housing opportunity.